man, there is a lot going on with packs happening. Super Evil has been doing their like daily streams. What was it? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, like revealing and teasing us with all this stuff that's coming in 1.8. We got the skill tier resets that are happening. You'll have 1.8 to get to your top skill tier that you can, and then you're going to be rewarded with some sort of trophy or plaque on your profile. That'll be a lot of fun. And then we got Skye revealed. She looks fun. I think we're going to be playing a lot of her and talking a lot about her as soon as she's released. And then that Joule skin looks awesome. I need it. I'm going to be throwing down tons of ice, picking her up, going to be playing, basically spamming Joule, and having a lot of fun playing her right now. I think she's a good fit in the meta right now. She does a lot of damage, and you can poke people down pretty well. But man, it's been rough, man. Patch 1.7, it's kind of kicked my butt. I don't know what it was, but I just, been losing quite a bit. Like, I don't know. Like, there's some patches that people like work out for them, and sometimes they just don't. And 1.7 has not been my patch, so I couldn't be more excited for 1.8. And to talk about all this stuff on this week's episode, I got Gibbs joining me. It's gonna be pretty good. It might get a little nerdy. We're gonna dive into how this reset's gonna work and what you need to know. But before we jump into the episode, I want to remind everyone, if you're liking the podcast, please head over to patreon.com/Shatter The Vain and, donate if you can. If you can't, I totally understand. I really appreciate everyone that listens every week and shares the episodes and talks to me on Twitter and, jumps into games with me and on stream. That's always great. But Patreon is there. Do all this for free. Have a lot of fun doing it. Love the game so much. Just a way, if we can get to another level, maybe there'll be 2 episodes every week, more content. I can do that for you guys. And then if you didn't see on Twitter, I'm now streaming on Camcord more, partnered with them. So head over there. It should be camcord.com/profile/brad. And I'm streaming there, 2 to 3 times a week, and then 2 to 3 times a week on Twitch. So hopefully you can join me and, jump in some games with me. But let's jump into episode 45.
Shatter the Vain, a podcast about Vainglory.
This is the 45th episode of Shatter the Vain. My name is Brad Chmielewski, and this is a podcast all about Vainglory. Every week, I try to break down the news, gameplay, game tips, and hopefully we can all become better players together. Every week, I'm bringing on new people from the community to help me go through this news and get their insights on the game, and it's fun hearing where everyone came from. And this week, I have Gibbs joining me. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
All right. Do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself if people haven't heard of you or checked out your stream, which seems kind of impossible at this point?
All right, so I'm Gibbs. I stream Vainglory on Twitch, and highest I've got Vainglory, so I have some accounts. I enjoy talking in Twitch and hanging out with you guys in Discord.
Nice. And so you were streaming like Clash of Clans, and were you streaming League of Legends before that, or you just played a lot of League?
So I've been streaming a little over a year. My first 3 days of streaming ever, I did League of Legends, and
Okay.
I think I had like 7 views, and so I was like, this isn't working. I'm a League player, and so I swapped over to friends, and I just saw like my views. I got 1,000 followers in a week. I was like, I like this.
Yeah.
I should be here. And then, I got partnered in Clash of Clans on Twitch, and then just decided to move on to Vainglory, go back to the MOBAs, and Vainglory was awesome.
Yeah. Do you still play Clash at all, or do you just kind of quit it cold turkey, left it behind?
Play it once in a blue moon, but I've cold turkeyed League of Legends.
Okay.
I've gotten way too far behind in that game.
Yeah, I still try. I play every once in a while League and try to like watch the esports stuff, but when I get into it, I'm like, oh man, I am not good at this game anymore. Like I can feel it.
Right.
I think that happens with any game you're not playing every day. It's just especially a MOBA that changes so quickly. And so, and then also, you were part of Guild or Gangstars recently, and you recently left, right?
Yes.
Is there any reason behind that, or do you want to share that story?
So pretty much, I talked to Paul, my Ukrainian, who's their guild leader, about it after I left. And in my eyes, at the moment, VG only allows two teams into the tournament from a guild, so to say.
Yeah,
So that's two subs, that's 10 players on each team. And right now, Gangstar Sirius is doing amazing. And they're
yeah,
in Korea right now. So they're kind of set in stone. And then we look back and we had a lot of people that were still going competitive for one team. We had a lot of these players before we realized and allow two teams.
yeah.
And so picking and choosing through all the players. And so I just decided to leave because there was too many players. And then talking to Paul, I don't want to say too much of what he told me, but they're sort of looking at the future, like in my eyes, a distant future.
Hmm.
And I can see where he's coming from. Sort of like I would have to wait for a while. Um,
Okay. Did you go? Did you form your own team then to go, compete in VGL here, or just kind of like that was too late?
it's too late. I signed up
Yeah.
with
Okay.
some players from Lucky 13, and
Okay.
they told us we missed the deadline by like a few minutes.
Oh shit. Bummer.
So yeah, it's all good. Just wait till next season. I can get some players, get some synergy going.
Yeah, and I think right now they said they had like it was like 650 teams applied, and I
That
think
is
those
incredible.
emails, yeah, those emails were going out I think today or this weekend about like who got in, but that's not 650 teams, and I would guess like most of them probably have the 5 members, uh, just because having those subs is kind of nice, just because most of us aren't getting paid to do this, so you might as well
Right.
have those subs when they can school comes up or work, and so that's a lot of people in the game and who want to compete. And
Yeah,
I
the
think that
community's
money
thirsty
adds
for
to,
it.
thirsty for it, yeah, and that money adds to it too, like
Oh
the prize
yes.
pool very much entices people. Before we jump in the news, people like to know like who you play in Vainglory and like what character did you kind of gravitate to the most and has been your favorite over these patches?
So I really enjoy assassins, excuse me, like Taka, Koshka. But up until 1.7, I couldn't play Taka because of like the whole sliding and the stepping because I have like
Yeah,
bad internet connection. But since 1.7, I've been playing like Taka nonstop. I'm playing Taka, Koshka, and then I take, main support, Catherine Adagio.
sure. Did you play a lot of assassins in League too? Is that just kind of like your play style, or did you kind of like different roles in each game?
Well, in League, I was a top laner and I liked bruisers. But then
Okay.
more towards the end of my League playing days, I started playing assassins like Katarina,
Yeah.
who I just fell in love with.
Yeah, 'cause assassins are fun because they just snowball so quickly and
Right.
they can just get out of hand and just like delete people. It's kind of a great feeling.
I feel like if you know what you're doing, then you can snowball pretty easily.
Uh
And then
huh.
when you play against good players, it can get kind of rough. You have to
Yeah,
step it
because they
up a
know how to.
notch.
Yeah, because those assassins, they're good at taking out one person, but
Right.
that's kind of it. And then if the rest of the team gangs up on them, it's kind of over.
You have to be like one step up. You have to know what's going to happen before it happens, and you have to position yourself because the assassins are squishy, and if they mess up,
Yeah.
then you're the one getting deleted instead.
Yeah. I think I still haven't. I'm a decent Kashka, but Taka, I haven't like figured out like keeping the stacks up and paying attention to all that is like it becomes a lot to like think about.
Right.
I know watching your stream, like you're all about the numbers. Like people would come into my stream and be like, "Yeah, Gibbs is nuts. He's like watching how many minions they have killed, so where they're at in the jungle." Like
Right.
it's just that's a pretty good strategy because it gives you a good idea of like, oh, okay, they just cleared their healing buff in the middle. They're gonna be down here next, and we're ahead of them.
Right. That's another thing. I never knew about that until I was live streaming and it just dawned on me like, oh, I can look at how many minions they excuse me, early game and see where they're at.
Man, yeah. So then you're focused on the minions and Taka's stacks, and geez, it starts that
Right.
all these numbers you're having to think about. Have you had to change up your Taka build quite a bit with how he changed in the last patch? Because they kind of adjusted some of those numbers, and it's same items aren't as viable as they were in 1.6.
Right. Something I've been doing with Taka is, I get my Sorrow Blade. Sometimes I get Tension Bow, but then I see the enemy building armor. And so as soon as they have a coat of plates or I see they have an Atlas, I immediately go into Broken Myth
Okay.
because then it sort of just, I mean, they buffed his crystal ratios, his bleed damage. And so just having that extra buff, Broken Myth, just helps
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Have to give that a try a little bit.
Usually it ends up Sorrow Blade, Broken Myth from there.
Sorrow of Broken Myth. Okay.
Because they'll start
All
going
right.
with the Atlas and then just use crystal infusions.
Just go from there. Okay. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are just starting to buy infusions more and more. Like, all right, I'll just live off infusions here. It's
Right,
kind of, it's not very expensive, and you get a lot out of them.
for sure. Especially at level 6, when you have your ults, you have your C ability, and then you can have an infusion on top of it. Does a lot of
Yeah,
damage.
nice. And then you've also started like a YouTube series, like besides streaming, you're posting more videos on YouTube now, right?
Right. So I started a series where I had an account and donated, so I didn't have to
Okay.
intentionally lose games. And it started off in pretty good gold. And so
Okay.
far, right now, we're one win off of Hotness Silver. We've yet to
Okay.
lose. Yesterday I had a really close call, but we had a Kraken steal, and we just pushed it for the win. It's a really
Nice.
epic game. So, hoping to teach a high elo series, but there was a lot of work. So I'm sort of
Okay.
hoping the solo queue series can teach players in that range, like about their mistakes, what they're doing wrong, and then sort of provide some humor for them too.
Okay. So it was donated because I know I recently leveled up an account, and then someone was like, "Oh, you did too," and you hit hotness gold like off that first game, right?
I started a brand new account, and I'm not positive what happens, but I think until you reach that rank 10 or that level 10, that Karma 10, those games are like placement games. And so I wanted to keep an account at like decentish for lessons that I was giving at the time. But
Yeah.
then I just immediately went to like hotness gold, like one
Yeah, I
win
kind of
off.
wanted. Yeah, I wanted to do a stream like, oh, you show off in league. People go from like, oh, unranked to challenger or whatever. I kind of wanted to do something like that,
Right.
and I guess it makes sense because it stops people from smurfing and like crushing people that aren't ready for it. So it's kind of smart, but
Hmm.
yeah, you can't. It's harder to teach people, I guess.
It's a good system. I didn't know about it, but when I figured it out, I was like, well, this isn't good for lessons, but it's good for the game itself.
Yeah,
People on Twitter, where can I find you guys aren't using?
definitely. Well, how about we jump into the news? We got packs here. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Vainglory News.
So, first thing in the news, this happened, I think, right after I recorded last week's episode, but Gamers 2 came into Vainglory and like picked up a team. So they picked up a bunch of the members from Pew Pew Pew. It's a EU team. And this is kind of our first official organization coming into Vainglory. We've had guilds, building teams out of all that, but this is kind of the first, like, I don't want to say like real organization, but it's kind of like in league, you have these sponsored teams with gaming houses. This is the first time we're kind of seeing that.
Right. I
And, oh, God.
oh, I think it's amazing that it's finally happening. People, once the money tournaments start coming, then the sponsors like this will start coming, and then it's just gonna, it'll lead up to like hopefully what League of Legends is today, at least at the
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, I think this is a sign that I think we're going to see some other teams coming in here. We got Hafu streaming Vainglory after her like Hearthstone streams, and she's on the Cloud9 team.
Right.
I think it's almost like like her playing it is like, oh, she likes the game, but I think it also is like, hey, Cloud9 people, what are we doing about this game?
Right.
So I think we may see that maybe not when season one kicks off here, but maybe it's shortly after it gets going.
I think it's right around the corner. I mean, I know they're big on League of Legends, and that whole
Yeah.
season starts up around November-ish, I think. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised to see it right before league season or right after
Do you think
here.
they may come in and like Gamers 2 did, like I guess scoop up some of the teams or the players that won? Like if Gangstars or Lucky 13, if they win, Cloud9 comes in and be like, all right, be part of Cloud9, we'll pay you.
Right.
Take leave Gangstars or leave Lucky 13 and be a Cloud9 team.
It's
I
a
could,
lot of these players haven't played MOBAs before, so they don't know much about like how big, Cloud9, SM, how big they are, and the opportunity
yeah.
it provides. So I think a lot of the good players are going to have an awakening when they figure it out.
Yeah, and that they can start getting paid for it. There's a lot of kids that are even in high school that only have played these iPad games like Clash. And I know I went to a meetup here in Chicago, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have a console and I don't have a computer. I only play games
Hmm.
on this." Like, what? How do you
Right.
like first MOBA you're getting into, and like it's a huge world, and there's a lot of money and sponsors to be made out of it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Excited for what Gamers 2 does coming in, and I'm sure it'll spark some other people. And that kind of brings us into the other news about these Vainglory Seasons. So at PAX, Super Evil announced that we're going to get a tier reset coming up. After 1.8, you are going to have your accounts basically reset, and you'll have a reward for whatever tier you achieved in that, I guess, season. It would be season one, or season 0 is going to be our like last year, right? And then season one's going to kick off with VGL.
Yeah.
And so with season one kicking off, before we get into like how that's going to work, you think that means we're going to have, it's going to be patch 2 going into after 1.8? Like, I think they may skip 1.9 and just go 2.
I think they 1.9, and then I think after 1.9 it will probably go into, season 2 with the two patches.
Okay. Or it'll be season one. You think are they
Wait,
calling it
season
season 1 or 2?
they're calling it season 1, I think. So they might just run with the patch notes. It might just run with the 1.
Okay.
So it might just run all through season. So we might have like a patch 1.20 since
Oh,
it's
so they may
season
go
1.
like that. Oh, that'd be sure. We don't have to hit 9 and then go right
Or
to
they
2 then.
they might, solve their own patch numbers and go back.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Like, oh, forget all those other patch notes.
Right.
We'll have to see what happens with that. But so I wanted to talk about how this skill tier reset works because, like we said, a lot of people haven't played MOBAs and don't understand this idea, and they're kind of freaking out that like, oh my god, my account's gonna like kind of be deleted.
Right.
That's what some people I've seen. And so I think you've played League, I've played League. We're kind of good people to kind of talk about how this works and why it's a good thing.
Right. So something I wanted to point out first and foremost is it's not going to be a hard reset.
Yeah.
By a hard reset, they're not going to take every player and move them to the bottom to start over. It's going to be a soft reset to where, your people, they're not going to move down to decentish. They'll go
Yeah.
down some, but they're not going to move all the way down. So everybody's sort of going to move, up or down, sort of in a medium of where they should be, and then they'll start to climb or drop from there.
Right. Yeah, because there's no reason that if you are pretty good, you shouldn't have to play against old school, like just for your placement matches. Like that's
Right.
just not fair to you and not necessarily fair to him either. It doesn't let him know his skill level. I think most people, though, after this soft reset, you're gonna end up probably back to where you were beforehand. If you were hotness, you'll probably end up in hotness again. You may see some outliers of people who maybe were held back by AFKers or trolls that do like move up a little bit because they got a better team.
Right. So you will always be where you should be as long as you play.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why like AFKers are bad, it sucks to have them on your team, but there's the same probability, that the other team's going to have an AFKer and your team won't. So the more games you play, the more it's going to even out of where you should be at. So if you get an
Right.
AFKer, you can sit there and pout, but just remember, it'll eventually, hopefully not, hopefully there's no AFK in the game, but realistically it's going to even out.
Yeah, there's always, I think, posts about like you win and lose about 50% if you're in the right skill tier, and you'll have, AFKers on your team just as many times as you will on the other team. The trolls will go back and forth.
Right.
It's just how it works out. But so why is having these soft resets like a good thing, or why are the seasons like a positive for Vainglory?
I think it's really going to help the esports part of it shine. They're doing quarterly, so I guess that's 4 seasons in a year.
Right.
So was it 3 months? And 3 months is a season. And it's going to be good because you're going to have each season, you're going to have a winner for the esports, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And it's not going to help one team stall. It's going to help new teams come in. They can come in, in the third quarter and they can put up just as much of a battle as somebody who came up in the first quarter without being that far behind. Because if the season kept running and kept running like it is now, if they ever came out with like ranked team into the game and they had stats for
Yeah.
that, the team couldn't come in and say pass that top team. So it's looking to get into esports. And it's also good for your casual players too. Not everybody plays the best. You
Yeah.
might have just started school, so you can't play that much. But when the summer comes around, you'll have another soft reset, and then you can sit down and focus with it.
Do you think, since we're gonna have these like rewards or these trophies on our profile pages, do you think we're gonna have like 1.8 or 9 is gonna have like ability to me go look at someone else's profile? Because why? Who cares? I have a trophy on my page if no one sees it. Like
Right,
you want to show it off, right?
right. So right now, Vainglory doesn't have stats in the game, so giving those trophies is sort of a way of saying we're not deleting your account. Type,
Okay.
this is how far you've came. We're gonna give it for it. So I guess that's how you can say your account's not getting deleted. You're getting a trophy for it.
Yeah. But I want everyone to be able to see my trophy. I want to show
Right.
off what I made.
Right
Especially
now,
later, if like, 2 years, 3 years, you'd be like, yeah, I got season one trophy. Like that's how long I've been playing.
screenshots.
Yeah, I guess so.
Screenshots.
So you got the soft reset. You have a month, or you have 1.8's coming out, and that'll be your last chance to kind of get to your skill tier that you want.
Right.
Uh, and I think they said it will be the skill tier you have achieved the highest, right? It's not like, oh, if you get POA and then lose it, you'll get the trophy for SA. If you made it to POA, it knows you made it to POA, right?
Correct. So in 1.8, if you get to like POA, but you drop down to SA, maybe even hotness, the highest you achieved is POA and you'll receive that trophy. So it's taking the highest
Okay.
you've received as to where
And
you
I
are.
and I don't know if this goes back, right? It's only like going to happen with 1.8. It's not going to look back. If you were, higher skill tier and you have like fallen this
Right.
patch, it's not going to look at all of that.
Um, I think that's the way it's going to work. I think it starts
Okay.
at 1.8 because I don't think they had to implement it in all the other patches unless they did and secretly didn't tell anybody about it. But I
Right. I'm
think it's
sure
going
they
to be
have that
1.8.
data.
I'm sure they have it, but there's a lot of players.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty excited for this. I think it's going to also deter Smurfs. I know Super Evil does not like Smurfs, and you have a lot of accounts. I have a lot of accounts because we play a lot, and we play with different people, and
Right.
I don't know. It's just kind of fun to level new accounts. For some reason, I don't know. When you play that much, it kind of gets stale sometimes, and like, oh, let me just start this new account. So I think a lot of people that have made accounts and forgot about them, this will kind of almost just kind of like get rid of those accounts. They're kind of almost dead accounts now.
Right. And I mean, that's good because smurfing, I've smurfed before, I've been down there. I've been in a 2v3 where I have two on my team, but still just run down with 20, 25 kills. And I'm like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
If you ever make a Smurf account, you have that feeling of right. And so I think these quarterly seasons help out on the Smurf accounts.
Yeah. So we'll see. I know I have a probably focus on like two accounts right now. Those are probably like my main accounts that kind of bounce between. And I think you're about the same, right? With your Gibbs and your Taylor Swift account,
Yes,
and now
my
you're
Gibbs and Taylor Swift account.
okay. Nice. Uh, Anything else with the season that we missed? I think it kicks off with VGL,
Right,
and if this means it's coming in 1.8, that should mean we have 1.8 coming, I would think, next week. I don't want to say it's been submitted yet, but I
right,
feel like PAX is almost like their final testing ground. Like, all right, we've had our people looking at bugs for a while and tweaking numbers, and this is kind of the first like public test. And
right.
then if everything's right, they can probably submit it to Apple on Monday or even today on Sunday.
So I think I agree with you on that. It's been, we've had some teases, and I talked to Surprise Birthday and Playoff Beard in my stream. I was trying
Uh-huh.
to get a, when's the next patch coming out type of thing. And this was about a week ago, and Surprise Birthday told me it was going to be over a week. So
Okay.
I'm PAX is like the final point, and then we will have a very, very soon after PAX is over with.
Yeah, so I don't think we will have like a Tuesday patch. I would almost put us more at like Friday, likely, just because knowing Apple and having to get it through them. Sometimes who knows how long it takes. Sometimes they've been pretty good with Apple and Super Evil, just like they want to promote this game because it shows off the iPad and iPhone so
Right.
well. They want to get it out. So I would say towards the end of the week. That would be my guess if I had to put money on it.
hmm I'm gonna say, as soon as they get back. So
As soon, oh, okay.
mid next week, maybe Wednesday, maybe
All
Wednesday.
right.
They have their
Very
dev
good.
stream on Wednesdays too, so it's like they have
Yeah, they
on
have
Wednesdays
been
and
they have
Friday.
been they have been dropping the ball on those lately.
Right.
Maybe they bring them back. All right. In 1.8, we got some awesome skins coming too. This Joule Tier 3 skin looks
Yes,
freaking amazing.
it
I was
does.
pretty pumped for Kashka Tier 3, but this could be my new favorite skin.
So the Joule Tier 3, I saw it on Twitter, I believe, and on Reddit when I first
Yeah.
when I that's where I first saw it. I'm trying to pull it up real fast. It's straight, like for me, it's straight Gundam.
Yeah.
It
She
is
has like her thunder strike is like a laser sword kind of
right.
thing.
It's
And
really
her
awesome.
yeah, the particles, I think her mech arms kind of come together when she's going to shoot her big red button laser.
Yes, it'd be amazing. I mean, you can just look at the skin all the way the parts will all move.
Yeah, they kind of, I guess, unintentionally teased this the day early. Like they had this plan to go the next day, but they were showing off Skye, and Joule kind of got in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. And then I guess I didn't even put in the show notes for some reason. I totally skipped over Skye.
Yeah,
This
Skye.
reveal of Skye. What do you think of her?
I think she's amazing, and I think she is going to bring something to Vainglory that is leaning towards of game changing. She's
How so?
she is her cap is really high. Player, they're gonna be like, oh, she's squishy, I die all the time. But then you're gonna
Yeah.
have these, pro players who are out there just dominating with her. The skill cap, the high skill cap means she's difficult to play, but if you can play her the way she's supposed to be played, then you're gonna do a lot of damage. And so as far as like game, she brings in that mobility. She's an
Hmm.
assassin type sort of thing.
Well, they like the sniper name because
Sniper,
it kind of
yes.
encompasses laner and assassin. It's kind of like they can. do a lot of stuff.
Right. And I think with her kit, it's really going to open up what they can do in more heroes in the future. And it's good
Uh-huh.
is to adapt to a play style like that, to a complicated play style. And it's going to sort of bring the community up a notch on their skill.
Yeah, because she has her ultimate is basically this giant AoE damaging, just bombs exploding,
Right.
and that's if you click on someone, and if you don't, you get this like line, almost like a rumble kind of alt that you take damage across. And I think we're all starting to get better about not grouping up in team fights because of Vox and
Yes.
not getting those choke points and things like that. This may help us learn that a little better and maybe not have these grouped up team fights as much anymore.
Right. Vox was an issue, and she was everybody was grouping up.
Yeah. This,
Fold has some close places on it, but you have
yeah.
to realize that, and a lot of players just weren't realizing that. They're like, "Oh, Vox is deleting me." And this is like back when he was first released. In CP Vox could literally just delete a team, but they've
Yeah.
tweaked him, and he's in my opinion, it's a skill cap when they took away the damage from his team.
Yeah. It definitely takes much more to play. And, it's more interesting to watch. You don't want to see people just get instantly deleted, especially with the VGL stuff and the VIPL stuff. Like, to watch that stuff is just not that fun. You want to see the abilities
Right,
happen and see the team fights take place.
right.
I think I will be picking up Skye. I think she's just going to become someone I like. I like playing Joule a lot, so I feel like Skye just fits right in there.
hmm I love the mobility on her. Like, I
Yeah,
think
that
I'll
being
pick
able
her
to
up.
like jump around the people is, I think, going to drive people nuts. Because I know I hate it with Taka. Like, it's like I
Yes.
need to get you. Just come here.
I think maybe, just thinking about how much mobility she actually has. If you shiver still her, you might put her in a shiver still. If you get
uh,
one stun off, that
it's
Catherine's going to be
true.
huge.
Yeah, I don't think Catherine is going anywhere. As more champions become like highly mobile, Catherine
Right.
just becomes the must for your team, I guess.
We might see more Warhorn as well to keep up with these mobile champions,
Oh, that's true.
heroes.
Yeah, we don't see too many Warhorns that often. They're usually almost used defensively, if anything, now.
Right.
Like,
I've
oh
seen it
my
a few
god.
times. It's very situational.
Very cool. Anything else you saw from PAX that they've announced or teased so far?
Not that I know of. I mean, I'm in the beta, so I don't want to say anything that hasn't been released.
Right. It's kinda,
So,
they did say that Pedal is still getting some tweaks, which is probably a good thing. Pedal's still missing from the game. Hopefully, we maybe see more of her in 1.8. And then
right.
let's see. And then we had another. We saw the Scarf Tier 2 skin, so that should be coming, which we've kind of seen already. So that looks pretty nice.
I'm excited.
And
I
then I
think
didn't.
scarf skins are amazing.
Yeah, have one that tier 3 we haven't seen anything for it yet, but the particles that they always do with the tier 3s are fantastic. So I can only imagine how are they going to change up the fire, you know?
Right. I'm the same way with Taka. What are they going to do for tier 2 Taka? I can't even
Right.
imagine a tier 3 Taka right now because the tier 1 is so awesome.
Mm-hmm. And Taka doesn't have a lot of like particles to enhance that, so I wonder what they will do, if there'll be like some sort of ghost trail or something. I don't know.
He hops in a basket right now. I'm ready to see him hop in a minivan one day.
Just take off.
Just take off.
That could be pretty funny. Yeah, because they go with this basket box. They got to keep coming up with stuff that Taka can like hide in.
Right.
So I don't know. There's not too many things that you can
I don't know. They
use.
might have like a ninja lurk mode Taka where he hops and just takes off.
No, that could be funny. Awesome. So get ready for patch 1.8 and start working on those skill tiers. Get up to where you need to be so you're already there when 1.8 hits and everyone goes super try hard. And
Yes.
because right now, for me, I've noticed that ranked and casuals they're about the same as far as gameplay goes. Like they're just as hard. So I end up just playing a lot of ranked, just because
Right.
like for me casuals are not casual. I don't. Have they? What about
Try.
for you? Everyone's always going like they push harder, they take bigger risks. Which for me, I want to like farm and like try a different build or something like that. It's
Right.
like, oh no, man,
These guys
have
are
like
all in.
2,000 gold and the game's over.
Yeah.
Cool. The last bit of news is the free hero rotation. I'd like to mention this, especially for the new players, as we grow more and more with heroes. We get new people every week, and this week's kind of like your almost basic, back to basics lineup. We got Petal, Cruel, Saw, Arden, Ringo, and Catherine. I think pretty solid lineup for anyone who's just getting into the game and starting. You have a good, you always have Ringo there, and you have Petal there if you want to see what she's got to offer right now.
Right. That'll
And
really different aspect to it, having those minions running around with her.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and if they enhance those a little bit and like give her a little more damage, she's gonna become a threat again, I think.
She's very hard to tweak. If you give her too much damage, she's gonna be OP. So right now, they're trying to they keep slowly bumping her up
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want her to come out and just wreck everybody.
Yeah, they try to tweak those like healing a little bit. That's like the easiest number to tweak without being like, oh, that's too much damage or not enough damage. It's like, oh, well, she heals a little more now. And it's like, okay, is that more viable for your team?
Right.
But give some of these heroes a try. I think they're all pretty good and all different skill taps. Cruel is probably the hardest one to master on this list right now.
I would say so. A lot of Crow players use their B ability right off the bat to make sure
Okay.
you get those stacks up, B ability for the most amount of damage.
Okay. Good to know. That does it for the news. But let's jump into some forum static.
Forum static.
So I came across this on the forums this morning, and it almost falls more under a gameplay tactic than even like the forum static, because usually the forums are just people complaining about something or something like that. This one got my attention, and that'd be a good thing to talk about. But it's about like every second counting. In the beginning of the game, they were mentioning in the tournaments they've been watching, they see the laner and the two jungle people go and like all three clear the back jungle, and then the laner moves to lane. So this is just like making sure that the jungle team gets the shop first,
Right.
because the team that basically shops first is going to win that fight, because they can buy a couple mines, they can probably get an item, another potion, they can just be up ahead of the other players.
Right.
But in solo queue, this does not go all that well. Like this.
Not at all. If you try to help out your back camps, there's spam pinging question mark of why are you in the jungle? Don't take my jungle.
Yeah, when they first started, when this patch first hit, like I was like, oh well, I can go as a laner, like give you like 2 hits to that big camp back there, just to like almost like a leash, like in League of Legends,
Right.
like leash that camp for you. I can make it to lane. I'm not gonna lose anything. But that really, I felt like wasn't adding that much time for them to like clear their jungle. It maybe like picked them up a little bit, but they had to move quickly. What I see now is everyone skipping the healing buff, doing your doubles, and going from there.
Right.
Is that, you feel like that's a efficient way to do that, or?
So since my team didn't get into VGL, I'll tell you the strategy that I was using.
Okay.
And it was so everybody skips like the back health minion, and then they just
Yeah.
get the bottom doubles and go through. Well, if you have somebody like Kai and Arden, anybody with AoE, both of those back camps together, and you can get that
Okay.
AoE off, then you can clear those faster and you can skip the big one in the middle because you can come
Okay.
straight down behind into the bottom doubles. Now, also, I think with Ringo, I've tried it, and I think I got to lane without missing any minions, where I actually started with my Twirling Silver and cleared that whole big back, and and still got the lane in time. So that was just, an XP boost, a
Okay.
small gold boost, and I was able to get to lane. But in Vainglory and MOBAs, like every second does count. You might be, oh, it's okay. But if you sit back and watch replays, you're like, oh, it's okay. It really adds up to like, 20, 30 seconds at times.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you're those seconds add up when you're shopping. I think that's when you see it the most. It's like, oh, what should I buy? And if you don't know where something is, you lose time there.
Right.
But so skipping the middle buff, I feel like everyone skips that back one because if you lose that fight, the other team usually doesn't go in and you never lose a camp. So
Hmm.
is that always that's the risk, right, of skipping the middle guy versus the back healing buff?
Well, skipping the middle, if you get to the shop faster, I think it's maybe like 2 to 3 seconds faster. Which,
Okay.
if you can, go into the other bush, buy those mines, even if you don't take that camp over there, you might be able to start a fight while you're level 2 and they're still level 1.
Okay.
It's sort of like a safeguard of we want to get this done really fast, want to fight, or we do want to fight. Just found out that was a faster way to jungle.
Okay. Do you tend to always fight then if you get to that camp first or get to the shop first?
We push in. We don't actually have to fight. I mean, if you have like an early week game hero, like maybe Cruel, and they have somebody like Koshka, you want to just avoid fighting for a while. You
Okay.
want to just clear your camps. You can head up to lane, passive up, and go for a gank. But for the most part, you're farming as much as you can before they do come invade.
Okay. And then what do you say to people like on your stream and other things that you maybe do casuals with and you see them run to that far camp first? Like I've seen that many a times. It's like, all right, well I have to follow you because
Yeah.
this just like for us to split up just doesn't benefit. So I'll follow you and we'll start in the back and or we're starting the front and work our way back, I guess.
If that happens, personally, I still start in the back because I can
Oh,
clear those
okay.
backs and get those three camps. But if you're doing, solo queue and you sort of want to work with your teammate, just follow them. This is about all I can say is just
Okay.
follow them.
I did see today that I had a laner run all the way to the enemy's two camps by the shop and take those because they knew that they could take them before the other team made their jungle clear, and then they went up to lane.
Right,
So that was kind of an interesting idea. I think he didn't get as much gold, but he probably got more experience that way.
right. The laning phase is awkward, I guess you could say. A lot of and there comes a point in the game where they just run up to lane, they clear the wave, they go into jungle. And that's sort
Yeah.
of like that's their, I guess, laning phase is between the jungle shop and the lane. They're just running back and forth, clearing, shopping, clearing, shopping.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would
I
like to
don't.
see a laning phase, so to say. I'd like to see that 1v1. I mean, you can see it
Just.
with some heroes up
Mhm.
until maybe level. I mean, I watched them play in Korea and they were at level 1 rotating down already. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, there goes laning phase.
I wouldn't. I don't think there's any way to change that unless the lane minions gave more experience or like equaled out the experience a little bit, so it was beneficial just to stay in lane. There's
Right,
they really haven't figured that out yet. It's like it's a game all about fighting, and they don't want the games to last 40 minutes. They want them to be
right.
done around like 20-25 minutes. So
It's action
if
packed.
yeah, so if you had a long laning phase, it just might get boring.
I mean, there's other, MOBAs out there that don't have these laning phases and they're just like, but the fact that you can have like somewhat of a in Vainglory,
Yeah,
I enjoy it than just constant, fighting nonstop. I'd like to, say, hey, I can last hit better than this person. I can get
yeah.
more gold, get my tension bow. I can come up and just melt him because he can't last hit better than me.
Yeah, it does become like a skill thing, and I think that's maybe what sets Vainglory ahead of some of these other ones, but in line with like League. It's like, oh, it's still skill based, but then you have to know how to fight and work with your team as well.
Right.
So yeah, but check out this forum post and give your thoughts about like how you handle the jungle and like making sure you're taking advantage of the time spent and, shopping quickly or whatever you do to save like a second here or there.
Right.
I love to see people's little tricks.
So, I mean, clear your jungle as fast as you can. You don't want to go into the jungle shop level like no energy though. So when
Yeah.
you jungle shop, you want to have your abilities up or up soon. If you're playing Catherine and you come down to the bottom doubles next to the shop, don't stun them because then your stun's going to be down for that level 1 fight.
Yeah.
And another thing with shopping, like know what you're going to buy. Just get
Yeah.
familiar
It's
with
just,
what you usually buy. I mean, it's a huge part of it. And you can actually practice it. You can come a tad bit shopping, come a tad bit off a base and still be able,
yeah.
if you realize that, but you can come a little bit out. I think you can get that area between the tri-bush and the jungle bush, and you're still able to shop for a split second, but you've got to be fast about it. And that's a huge habit to get into.
Yeah, like learning all the items takes time and things, but it does if you want to play at the higher skill levels. Like just knowing, like, oh, if you have 850 gold or 1050, like you can get that item. You can run down there, get it, get back to lane, or know, like, oh, one more wave, I can probably buy that, and then we'll good to the fight.
Right. And I mean, as you're walking down the jungle shop, you can always pull up your shop and say, I'm going to buy this next, and you can hover over it. So when you get into the shop, you can just hit buy instead
Yeah.
of like weapon, heavy steel, buy. You can just hit buy instead.
Cool. Some good tips there for anyone trying to improve their gameplay. Well, I think that does it for episode 45. Gibbs, thanks for joining me on this episode. This was fantastic.
Well, thank you for having me.
Where can people, check out your stream, Twitter, all that good stuff? What is it?
So my Twitch is twitch.tv/LOL Gibbs, and my Twitter is @StreamGibbs. You
Cool.
can Gibbs as well.
Nice. I will include all those links in the show notes and on this post, so everyone go over there, check out Gibbs. What's your stream schedule for? Do you have a schedule? You're in school, so it kind of
Yes,
changes, right?
it changes with the amount of homework. Like this weekend, I have tons of homework, so I haven't been able to
Okay.
stream so much. But I usually stream towards the night times, about 8 p.m. Eastern,
Okay.
p.m. Pacific.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. And then you also are on Mob Crush, right? Like you just
Right.
got partnered with them, so you're gonna be streaming some stuff there.
Yeah, I'm doing some stuff on Mob Crush, working with Vainglory. I'm still testing out my internet stuff. But
Okay.
in the meantime, when we don't do Vainglory, we do little fun games over there as well. And this Mob
Some Ariga,
Crush,
some
Gary,
Arago. Yeah.
right? Circles over there.
Yeah, man. Everyone wants you to play those games on Camcord and Mob Crush. It's like, I guess it's it's my like bathroom game, but okay.
Right. So I'm gonna eat circles and
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening and hanging out for episode 45. We might be back soon this week with a patch episode, but otherwise, be back again next week with 46. Take care.
Shatter the Vain.